In my research on expert entrepreneurs, one of the first things I discovered was they did not start with the vision of some big opportunity out there. They actually just started with the means that were readily available to them. They asked themselves, who am I? What do I know? Whom do I know? And given what I am, and all these resources that are available to me, that are readily available to me, what kind of ventures can I build? And even though the venture may not be very sexy or doesn't seem high potential, they would jump in and start doing that. So what happens is, first thing is, you can begin the venture very quickly. So you're not waiting for a perfect plan or a perfect set of resources before you get started. So you can get started very quickly. And plus, as you build it, you can also try lots of different things very quickly and find out what works down the road. Start with who you are, what you know, and whom you know, and do the doable. And do it very quickly. And then once you have done something, then push it, then add on to it, and then build on to it. And that is how you build a great company. But if you think you have to know a great company before you get started, then you probably will never get started. One of the very first things that I found out from the research is that expert entrepreneurs hate market research. So the data was very clear, because they would actually say things like, I don't like market research, I will never do market research, things like that. So it made me think a little bit that, first of all, what do they mean by I don't like market research? What do they mean by market research? And why don't they like market research? And if they don't do market research, what will they do? And that led me to the insight that it is not just market research that they hate. They actually are saying that don't use predictions about the future as a criteria for your decision making. Instead, look around you and find things within your control and use that to do little things and keep doing things that are within your control, and bring people on board, and they will have other things that they have control over. They have other resources that they bring, and always using things that are readily available to you, and with things that you can control, you can build all kinds of interesting things. That you don't have to be able to predict the future in some big way in order to build a great company. Just by doing the doable and working with things within your control. There are 5 principles for this logic of non-predictive control, or we call this effectual logic as opposed to causal logic. The 5 principles are the first one is the bird in hand principle. So start with your means and not with some predetermined goals. Start with your means and ask yourself, what kinds of things can I do with my means? Then, given that you can do X, Y, and Z, you pick the one that requires only the amount of investment that you can afford to lose. So you don't pick using expected return as your criteria, you do what you can afford to lose. So you don't invest huge amounts of money. That's the second principle, the affordable loss principle. The third principle is the crazy quilt principle. The crazy quilt principle says you go out and talk to people and start bringing people on board. And you're not really the big salesperson saying, here is why you should invest in my company. Instead, you are bringing people on board who want to be part of your company so that they can shape the future with you. So they co-create the future with you. So it's like a crazy quilt. You just have random patches of fabric that you stitch together into this expanding network of stakeholders. The fourth principle is the lemonade principle. There is a saying in America that when life throws lemons at you, make lemonade. So when you build a venture effectually, all kinds of surprises are going to happen, because you're not doing planning and prediction, and so you have to be open to surprises. And when surprising things happen, even negative surprises, the expert entrepreneurs have become very good at turning them into something useful, even turning something negative into something positive. That's the lemonade principle. And the last principle is the pilot in the plane principle, that when all is said and done, there is no perfect way to build a company. So just simply thinking about, the trends in the future, or somehow you are the smart person and you can see something that other people cannot, is not a good way to build a venture. Instead, you want to understand that the future comes from what you and I choose to do. So our working together to co-create the future is the best way to deal with an unpredictable future. Not try to predict it, but to kind of co-create it. So, and we co-create it in ways that we care about.